Leadership matters in every field, and in policing, it matters for the future. Tonight, I'm joined by Sergeant Justin Collins of the Rochester Police Department for a conversation on leadership, workforce development, and police recruiting for the future. This is the 30. Let's get started. Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. We had a little mix up before, but we are back live again. Welcome to the 30. The 30 is a space for meaningful conversations on design specifically to support your personal, professional, and leadership growth. Of course, the 30 is a production of the Jackman Group LLC. We focus on leadership development, team enhancement, and strategic planning for organizations. Tonight, we are talking about leadership and workforce development, specifically recruiting for the future. This is a very important conversation because we know leadership is not just about who we are serving now. It's also about who are we preparing, attracting, and developing to serve next. Joining me tonight is Sergeant Justin Collins of the Rochester Police Department. And I've known Justin for a while. I've had the opportunity to have him in one of our leadership classes, and he is doing a fantastic job within our community when it comes to recruiting. So let's bring Justin in, and I'm going to ask Justin. Justin, welcome again to the 30. I know you've been on here a couple of times. You've also allowed us to speak to some of your recruits who are now police officers. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. What's your role and what you do?
Sure. So my name's Justin Collins. First off, I want to tell you how much I enjoyed my time in your class. I learned so much, and yeah, it's a couple years. Time flies. It's been a couple years, but I really enjoyed my time in your program and learned so much, and met so many incredible people that I'm still friends with today that worked in the city that I would never have met had I not been in there. So I really enjoyed my time. But a little bit about myself. I've been with the police department for a little over 20 years. During that 20 years, I've served in supervisor capacity for about 16 of those years, and in various places, supervising officers going to 911 calls, working in our tactical unit, which is like a lot of the exciting stuff that you see on TV, the high crime, anti-crime unit. I was the public information officer, so I dealt with all the media for the police department. I did a lot of stuff in the technology space. My folks managed the blue light cameras. And today I manage a team that tries to restaff the police department. So workforce development, recruitment.
That's great. Thank you, Justin. And how long have you been in this current role? You've had numerous roles and leadership roles within the Rochester Police Department, but how long have you been in this role?
This role for almost about 4 years. So, been about 4 years, and that time has really given us a chance. It's right; it lines up perfectly with the hiring crisis. When I got asked to take on this role, I actually had my own business that I ran, which was workforce development, leadership development for police officers. When I started that business, everyone thought that I work with thought it was crazy. Why would I need to do that? But really, we were ahead of the curve when it came to the staffing crisis that our department's facing, and really departments across the country are facing. But then a few years later, after my business was going, I was approached by our department's command staff and asked me if I would implement something like I had privately into the police department. It was a tough decision because I gave up the ability to make private money, but I ended that business because of my love for the city. I really love this city. I think you know that, and you know me well enough now to know that I mean that. And it's very important to me that we get it right and that we develop these future leaders who we're going to give this uniform to and all the power that comes with being a police officer. We want to make sure we get it right. So when I went from private to the police department, and doing it for the police department, it really exploded the group because now, you have the city and this engine behind it. It really allowed us to attract more people. It was free, and we could bring in people, and really, and cost wasn't an aspect anymore for people to come into this program. And I feel very good about my decision and what we've been able to do in the time that we've been building this.
Awesome, awesome. So I've had the opportunity to not only speak with you and some of your team, but interact with the various potential and future officers that you bring across this great community, whether you bring them into the church community, into the faith community. I love that you do that, that
Mhm.
they get to be exposed to various aspects of the faith community. But I've also attended some of the graduations. And one of the things that I notice about it is the diversity of candidates. Talk to us about that and why is that important to you?
Oh, thank you. And yeah, it's super important. Obviously, Rochester, one of the greatest things about Rochester and Monroe County is the diversity of our county. So many people call Rochester home that originated in countries across the world. So it's important that we want to have a police department, if we can, that reflects that community. I think it helps us make us a better agency. I mean, do I need to be African American to go to an African American household? No. Do I need to be from Nepal to go to a Nepal household? No. But is it helpful? It can be. I mean, people, they relate to people that they know, and especially the kind of people that or that they're familiar with, I should say. And we're going into crises. We're asking our police officers to go into crises where people are not always in the right state of mind. And sometimes having someone who is from where you're from or have shared live experience, grew up where you grew up, really helps calm things down, helps build commonalities in situations that are very, very tense. And that's something I really charged my staff with about 4 years ago, was coming up with a way that we could really be a true opportunity for people from all around the Rochester, who again are from all different places, to really call Rochester home and to make it an opportunity for them and a career for them. So really had to get creative. We also recognize that there's parts of the Rochester community that do not trust the police, or perhaps didn't trust the police in the country they were originally from. And that's important too, to bring down those bring down those walls. And I think we know as leaders, the only way you can truly do that is by being consistent. And getting people to trust you takes listening, takes consistency. I need to be the same person that I am right here when I'm talking to you, when I'm not talking to you, when I'm with a different group of people, or when I'm with a different group, or when I'm out doing whatever. I need to be that person, because if you want people to trust you, you've got to make yourself trustworthy. You got to be honest, consistent, mature, emotionally intelligent. Those four pillars are things that I ask my staff that I currently have helping me build this. And I ask everybody who comes through our pipeline programs. Those things are key if you're going to be a future Rochester police officer and going to succeed in this profession.
I said pipeline programs. So let's talk about that. How many programs are there?
Right now, there are five. You've been to the adult graduation program, where we take adults 19 to 43 years old, and they'll sign up for the police exam. And, this is something that's pretty awesome. I mean, now the process is pretty similar across the country, but how Rochester is unique and how we're leading the way, and we actually were nationally recognized by the League of Cities for this, is that when people sign up, we stay engaged with them immediately. Our officers will bring them into our program. We'll meet with them every other week in person, and then we'll meet with them virtually virtually weekly to keep tabs on our candidates and to make sure they're hitting their milestones as they go through this year-long process, written exam, physical agility, and so on. But the other part that's really great and really the backbone of this group is the community engagement piece. I mean, we hear that word community engagement thrown around. We hear, the community policing, but we live it here. I mean, our folks, I ask them to do 6 hours a week, these folks that are pursuing this job. And by the time someone gets through our program, they'll do a couple hundred hours. And I have them volunteering, and my team has them volunteering with vulnerable populations, whether at the Boys and Girls Club, whether they're dealing with refugees and new Americans, whether they're dealing with my folks from Delphi Rise with people battling drug addiction, or just endless groups, the Salvation Army, you name it. Our folks are out there engaging with community that they're going to want to one day serve. And it's really important that these future leaders, these future law enforcement professionals, don't just get a view of the city that they get maybe from some of the headlines they might read in the paper or stuff they might see on the news, because that's not always accurate. There's so many amazing people that live in our city, that live in our community, and then we have a few people that do the wrong thing, and those people ultimately, if things can't get corrected, they're going to go to jail. But there's hundreds of thousands of great people, and it's important that we expose our future officers who we're going to give this power to, we'll expose them to those people. And some of these people, again, might be in bad situations, but it doesn't make them bad people. But if you're only getting one viewpoint, and again, when they get on the job, they're just going to go to 911 calls where things are going bad. Let's get them in environments where they can really learn what the city's about. And we think on long term that's going to make us an even better police department. As far as some of our other programs you mentioned, we have our adult program. Then we have our Police Explorer Post. Now, this is 14 to 18 years old. Now, years and years ago, is predating me, we had Explorer Post. Then I think it came back briefly and it went away. And for my time here, and for the most part, I think generally people view Explorer Post and teen programs as kind of like a vanity project or a PR piece. But that's really where most police departments, in my interpretation, are missing it. Because an Explorer Post with teenagers that you're bringing in, you're meeting with as a group and helping develop them and showing them the ins and outs of your police department is not a PR piece. It's not a vanity piece. It's honestly the missing link to get yourself out of a staffing crisis. You have to think strategically long term how to build your organization back. And right now we have a waterfall of people reaching 20 years and leaving. We need to create a reverse waterfall. And that is, we know there are people in our city and our community that want to be police officers, Patrick, but at some point in time, whether it's the news, whether it's people getting in their ear, or whether it's just poor decisions, or maybe it's decisions to do other things that maybe they want to be an officer, but they moved on, we're not keeping them. We're relying on other institutions solely to send us police officers. And while we have some great partnerships with other institutions who help us, it's not bearing enough fruit. So we really had to get into the youth business. And we started to do that. And my team that runs the Explorers is doing a phenomenal job. But we're already up to, I think, 25 young folks. It's just been going for about 6 months, but it's growing. And again, these are teens that are 14 to 18 from around our community. And we're really giving them an inside look of what the police department's about, what the city's about. But that is, when it's grown to its fullest extent, is going to be that reverse waterfall. When these young people are 18, 19, and now they're knocking at the police department's door, and we've had them in our group, our pipeline for a few years, patience is going to be needed. But once it hits, once it starts bearing fruit, it's going to be incredible. Another thing that we've got that, again, I don't know if it's ever existed here, but we're creating, and it does exist in other police departments, is a teen academy. Now, the city of Rochester, one thing about our police department, and maybe I'm a little biased because I work here, but we are the show. I mean, anything that you might see on TV or see on Netflix, good or bad, it happens in our city, and our police department experiences it. And very few other police departments can say that. Our officers are some of the most well-trained, professional, and experienced police officers probably in the country, but definitely in this area, they're number one. The volume of calls they take due to the volume of people they serve is second to none. So really, we want that to translate into our teen academy. Again, this is another thing for 14 to 18. 20 young people will be selected from various schools. And currently that team that's running that program is going through the selection process. But we're bringing in these teens to be part of basically like a teen police academy. So it's going to be an intense week or two of really going through the rigors of what it would be like to be a police officer, but preparing them to seeing who is able to make it through, because when you go to the adult police academy, as you can imagine, it's pretty intense. So we
Yeah.
want to kind of bring these people along. But again, it all adds to thinking for the future. We're in a hiring crisis now. We're going to continue to add people. But how do we prepare to get us out of this mess long term? Because if we keep adding 15 and 20 people, but each year we're losing 30 people to retirement, I'm no math expert, but we're going to lose this battle, and that's
Yeah.
what we're having. So we've got to think also, how do we keep young people interested and keep them wanting to serve the city? So all three of my teams that are managing these programs are working together. They all have the same vision, and honesty, maturity, consistency, and emotional intelligence. That's what we're looking for, and shepherding that through these years to get folks to the ultimate place, which is to wear this uniform and serve the city proudly. The next program I want to mention is our Skill Bridge program, and it's we're super proud of this program. It's a partnership that, as far as I'm aware, and one of my officers told me the other day, that we are the only department in the in New York State that's involved in this program. And what that is a partnership with the Department of Defense, where folks that are in the military, whether it's the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, I even think Space Force is in there, people transitioning out of service, before they leave, they have to declare 6 months prior to leaving that they're leaving. At that time, they can look through a registry, and if they're approved through their command, they can go and they can transition their last 6 months with an organization of their choice. Well, enter the Rochester Police Department. We are on that list. We fought really hard to get there. It was not easy, but we're on that list. And since we got on that list, we've had officers, or we've had military professionals from around the country reaching out, pitching themselves to us and to my team, saying, I want to work for the Rochester Police Department. Let me do my last 6 months there, and I'm going to go through your hiring process. And that's what we've done. And we've hired 2. Currently, we have 9 in our pipeline that can either be in this June Police Academy or the December Academy. And we're continuously seeing inquiries, which is awesome, because we're getting people from around the country that want to work here. And it's a very attractive place to work. The city of Rochester offers some great benefits. Our police department, again, is second to very few. So we're seeing interest from other places. And it's great, because it's allowing us to build those pipelines and to show people these opportunities that they have right in front of them.
That's awesome. Awesome. So I'm talking to Sergeant Justin Collins of the Rochester Police Department, and we're talking about leadership and workforce development, recruiting for the future. It's funny because someone in the comments asked Justin, "What does your badge say?"
Oh, my badge says sergeant.
Okay.
That's my rank here, is I'm a sergeant. So I'm a supervisor of police officers.
Yep. That's good. So let's talk about the importance of recruitment, and let's talk about some of the challenges that you have experienced with as far as recruiting the future.
Yep.
What are some of the challenges that you and your team have experienced to date?
Well, that's a great question, Patrick. One of the biggest challenges that I had mentioned, recruiting challenges are across the country for police departments, and really a lot of organizations are facing staffing, a shortage in the workforce. We didn't used to have to do that. We have a mentality still a little bit in our department that we're still operating in like an abundance era, where we used to have thousands of people would line up at our door and we barely had to recruit. That's not in the era that we're in right now. We have to work hard to go out and find these candidates, and then once we get them, we have to develop them. Some of the challenges that we face are, policing is one of the only professions that something could happen in California or something could happen in Minneapolis, and the entire profession is basically put in a box and says, so you do that too, you're bad. Now, the city of Rochester had its share of challenges. And I think we saw that a few years back, where people were not happy with some of the services. And I think if you listen, there's always truth. When there is people that are telling you things, there's pieces of truth to everything, right? People are going to have their opinions, but ultimately the community was telling you that they wanted different services. And I think in leadership, if you listen and you do more listening than you do talking, you're going to figure things out. So I think that was really the genesis for what we've built here, is really based on some of the things that people wanted. They wanted to see change, stuff that came from the state government, from the governor's office, but we were able to implement them. Instead of just checking a box, we're able to build repeatable processes to make it work, and to have success. I think one of the biggest challenges is, in addition to our entire industry being labeled if someone does something wrong. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of police officers. They're human beings. They're going to make mistakes, right? And when one makes mistakes, all of a sudden it counts for every officer. Someone could have a bad exchange with a Rochester police officer or Monroe County sheriff. It can happen, right? Not every police officer is perfect. Not all police officers are good, right? Just like not all doctors are good, and so on.
Hmm.
But don't label the entire police department off one bad exchange, because we're all unique individuals. But I think there's that. I think it's the noise. There's a lot of noise about our profession, and there's a lot of people that are anti. And one thing is for sure, public safety is paramount in every city, and every race, culture, religion, and human being wants to feel safe. They do. And safety looks different for different people, but
All right.
no one doesn't want to feel safe. I think if you ask, I mean, I've worked in some of the toughest neighborhoods in the city of Rochester. If I had $1 for every time everyone has come up to us and thanked us for being there, and how afraid, say, people were in certain situations, they want you there. They may not always show you they want you there, but by
Sure.
and large, hundreds of thousands of people are happy that police department exists and it's there. They just want the customer service aspect maybe to be different, or they want to feel like we're transparent. I think our department's made a bunch of additions and changes to make us even more transparent. But I think, yeah, the noise, blocking out some of the noise. We're not great marketers in the Rochester and any police department, and we've got to work on that to tell our story, because other people will tell it for you, and it might not always be the story you want to be told, because it may not be true.
Sure. Now, you've mentioned some of your areas that you're focusing on: teens, young adults. And I know that all organizations, well, not all, majority of organizations, majority of sectors are having to deal with the generations:
Hmm.
Gen Z, millennials, Gen X. And some of those generations are not the same as it used to be,
Hmm.
right?
For sure.
What are some of the things that younger people that you are encountering, what are they looking for? Let's say Gen Zers, what are they looking for as far as law enforcement?
Right. So I think, I totally agree. And I think every industry feels it. We feel it too in policing. I think that gives me a little bit of a leg up. I have a 15-year-old son, my son Carter. So I have a little insight on that generation, and I think the biggest thing is they want it now, right? And they want to experience things that, say, perhaps generations before them would be more patient and willing to wait. They want more instant gratification. Now, you can fight and say that it's not going to be like that, but then you're in the situation that you're in where you don't have a workforce. So you've got to kind of adapt. And I could say one way that we've adapted is like we things that would have been, well, we'll do that in year number 2, or we'll do that in month number 6. So we did mock traffic stops the other day where we had some of our officers come out and teach people just the basics. Now, we don't get as deep as we do in a police academy with the explorers, but none of this is trade secrets. You could go online and learn all the tips and tricks to doing traffic stops online. Kids have information at their fingertips. If they want to learn about things, they can learn. So really escalating things and teaching young people things that perhaps would have been, we can't do that years ago. We're accelerating things, using more real speech to people, being more direct. I think the kids appreciate that. Our ability in our adult program, another example is our adult program. We do a hybrid. So we meet our folks at the police academy every other week for our check-in, but we also do, we use a social media app to connect with them virtually. So
Mm.
that's another thing that this generation wants, that type of access, which gives all my officers that are primary recruiters have access to work cell phones. So recruits are able to get instant access and message them, which is something you would have never been able to do years ago when I started. So having more of that real-time interaction and questions helps build relationships with Gen Z. And that's something that
Sure.
I've set up for my staff and something that we do. And again, it took some getting used to, I think, at first when we did it, but it's paid dividends for us with our relationships with our future officers.
Awesome. Great job. Let's look at the community, because you said that this is an important aspect of what you do as it relates to recruiting. What are some of the things that the potential officers or those that are in workforce development, what are some of the community activities that you are involved with, you and your team?
So thank you. So yeah, right off the bat, we have our Faith Link program, which I know that we've been out a couple times to see you folks, and
Yep.
we're all over. Whether it's New Life, whether it's Baber, we're all First Genesis. We're at houses of worship. We've gone to synagogues, temples. We've been close now to 100 different houses of worship, and we
Wow.
bring our future officers out there. Been doing this for a couple years. We think it's so important. Again, it can't just be a box check. Policing and the responsibility and the power that they have is too high of a stake. And we saw with what occurred in Minneapolis with George Floyd, right? We saw that it's too dangerous not to be focused on developing leaders and making sure you're connected with the community. So part of FaithLink is to get out there in these houses of worship. Houses of worship tend to gather people who care a lot about their community, care about God, who care about whatever God they worship, but they care about the community. They're civic minded. So that's a great place for, again, for our future officers to go and to be in an atmosphere like that, that it's so important. Personally, for me, I love God. So I maybe, that's where my heart is too. I think you're going to need faith to guide you through a profession like this, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
ups and downs. You're put in a situation where you got to make a lot of tough decisions. And I know a lot of officers that I work with feel the same way. But FaithLink really has allowed us to get into these communities and to build relationships. Relationships don't come from me coming to me bringing my group to one house of worship one time, and now all of a sudden I'm friends with everybody. They come with consistency, and that's something I want to show these future officers, is when they get assigned to work in Genesee section, or they get assigned to work in Lake section, or wherever, that they have people that they know that they are comfortable walking in uh, to various houses of worship, that they know the pastor from that church, they know, and that's super important. That's super important. The other program that we've got going is our Many Roots One City, and I think when you talk about refugee community, I don't think our country's ever been in a tougher spot, where we've never been more divided. And refugees that have come here, there's a lot that don't feel welcome, and there's a lot that are scared. And that's
Mhm.
super important for us, because that's not our role. We're not ICE. That's not what we do. Our role is to protect the community. And it's important that we have those relationships. We cannot solve crime. We cannot respond to 911 calls and be effective if people don't trust us and if they're not willing to call. We don't want people to be victimized because they're not comfortable calling because they think they're going to get deported. That's not our role. Our role is to protect everyone who's in this community, everyone who's in this city. So Many Roots One City allows us to keep those relationships going. I've had relationships with these folks from these groups for many years, but we saw them damaged when the recent events have happened. With ICE and with things of that nature. That is not what our role is in this community. So Many Roots One City allows us to continue to interact, allows them to give a trusted source for my officer and my team, and Officer Pena is part of that group. And here's out there, whether we're going to community events, whether inviting him into our house. We just had a group, a South Pacific Asian group come into our group, the Nepali group, the Biaja Kadaka came in, and we made them feel comfortable. And that's important. And that's how relationships are built. And honestly, long term, we hope to recruit some of these young people into our youth program. So really great things are happening. But as far as other places, we're at the Salvation Army, the Boys and Girls Club, Delphi Rise, Compeer. Delphi deals a lot with drug addiction. We're starting to work with a lot of groups that have victims, that support victims. It's just important that our future officers have a whole picture of the city. They understand who the vulnerable population is and that they're protected.
Fantastic, Justin. It's a great job. I see your candidates, but the future officers, those that are part of your program. I always see them with the blue shirt in places. So that's exciting to know. How many people on average come through the program annually? And then from that, how many of those go on to be hired as officers in the various
Sure.
departments?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I did this privately for about 5 years before someone approached me from the city, and I gave up my business. I
Yeah.
love the city, so I had to do it. It was the right move. I prayed on it. So then I did it. I did it for the department. I would say on average, we'll get about 15 to 20 people every 6 months that'll get hired, which is great. That sounds great. We should have a 700 person department, but we're losing, 25, to retirement each year. So we're just keeping up. Um, Going through the program, we have a few hundred that'll go through the program every year.
Mm.
Some will go to other police departments. So Monroe County Sheriff's has taken a bunch of our folks, which we're happy because it's keeping them in the law enforcement profession.
Sure.
Um, Greece PD, University of Rochester Public Safety, some of the local towns and villages will come through. So we have, like I said, about 20 or so every 6 months, so around 40 or 45 a year will come through our program and get hired. But what's really beautiful is since I've done it privately, which is the same program, just a lot bigger now with RPD, we're over 500 people that have come through this program who have done the things that we talked about that are now serving in some capacity, whether it's the Rochester Police Department, Monroe County Sheriff's, or any of these surrounding agencies. So there's quite a few people, like I said, over 500 now that have come through this program. They're all alumni. A lot of them come back for the graduation, for the future graduation. I love to see them, but they're out there serving, and they're serving with an open heart and doing the right thing.
Fantastic. When is the next graduation and when is the next sign up for your program as well as to apply for the RPD?
Great. Yep. So the next graduation is actually Monday, June 15th at the Public Safety Building. As you know, we make it a community affair.
Mhm.
Policing is about customer service, and the customers are the community. And that's something, a mentality that everyone in our group knows, all my staff knows, and everyone inside this workforce development program knows. So June 15th at the Public Safety Building, it's going to start usually starts about 5:30. It lasts about 35 minutes, but it's a very festive event. We're very proud of the people who are taking the next step. And like I said, it gets a great crowd. Our next police exam, the date isn't out yet because the state determines it, but we're thinking probably the first week of September will be the exam. And then the deadline will be probably the second week of August. But September is the next. People need to eye that area up, as that'll be the next time. So you'll be seeing ads all throughout July and August promoting the exam. But yes, September will probably be the next time. And then we'll have an academy in December and then another one in June. Having 2 academies a year is important for us to win this race and ultimately get more people and get this department back up to full staffing.
And how long is the academy going from entry to graduation?
Yep. So from entry into the academy, after folks graduate from our workforce development program, they'll get going in there, and take about maybe 5.5 to 6 months, and then they'll go through field training for another 4 months.
Okay.
So all in all, you're looking at almost a year of training. But again, very important. Plus the fact that folks have done about a year with us before they've ever gone to that academy, really getting to know the community, getting to know the department culture. So we're pretty invested in these folks by the time they've gone on and graduated. And actually, I'm going to one of the badge paintings very soon for one of the groups before that. You remember Jessica that worked for me?
Yes.
She's almost through, and she's getting ready to have her badge pinned. So really great relationships formed, and we couldn't be more excited. But yeah, that's the process. Probably about a year once you start that academy till you get through your entire training, about a year.
Wow. Congratulations, Justin. I tell you, Rochester is so small, Monroe County is so small, is that uh, I know we've tried to connect for a couple of weeks now, and someone on our team says, "Oh, Justin, yeah, my husband went through his program some years ago,
Yeah.
and he's in law enforcement." I was like, "Wow, this is so small."
And he was an incredible young man too. Real good guy.
Awesome. And any last words for us, Justin, before we end?
Yeah, I mean, policing is. I view every single person that would put on a badge and a gun, and in this city, and really in any law enforcement profession, as a leader. Anyone that would lay their life on the line for complete strangers as a leader. And it's so important that we invest in these future community leaders, and we look beyond the basic training, like the training they get, whether it's weapons or fighting or driving or penal law. That stuff is second to none, and our training staff does a phenomenal job. But I think we need to look holistically at the entire candidate and develop those skills. I think the Gen Z, to your point, needs that approach. And I think the way that RPD and the city of Rochester is doing it is really leading the way. It cannot be done without an incredible group. I got to give a shout out to everyone who's on my team. But yeah, I just think that people should consider this city and consider working as police officers. It's the most rewarding profession, and this city deserves it. Incredible people that are in this city.
Awesome. And then you also have someone that's on your team who is their spouse, is also on our team. So I'm telling you, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
connected.
Pretty small world,
It's
right?
a small world. It's a
It is.
small
Yeah.
world. So as we end, just one of the things that I appreciate about this conversation is that it reminds us how much growth, leadership, and community connection really can move things forward. So I appreciate everything that you've done and that you continue to do. Big shout out to your team as they go through and find the right type of officer for the future. So congratulations once again. So
Amen to
kudos
that.
to you, and I look forward to have you come back and join us at New Life Fellowship so that we can again meet your officers and pray with them and so on.
It'd be my pleasure. I can't wait to see you again.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you. One of the things that when we talk about connection in spaces, I know last year you were part of our leaders and entrepreneurs connection, and that our second one is coming up on next Thursday, May 28th. So that's gonna be at the same place, Eden Coffee Company, and that's 7:30 to 9 a.m. And that's an opportunity for leaders like yourself, community leaders, entrepreneurs to come together and just have a conversation, just meet and chat.
You can count me in for that. I'll be there.
All right. So thank you again, Justin. God bless you and your family, and we will see you soon. Okay.
Appreciate it. God bless you, my friend. Take care. Thanks
You
for
got
having
it.
me.
Certainly. So I've been talking to Sergeant Justin Collins of the Rochester Police Department, and we've been having a great conversation as it relates to recruiting for the future. So if you like this kind of conversation, if you enjoyed this episode, drop us a line. Send us an email, info@jackmangroupllc.com. That's info@jackmangroupllc.com. If you are in the Rochester, Monroe County, well, even if you are outside of the Monroe County area, but you're interested in becoming an officer with the Rochester Police Department, be on the lookout. Go to the website, be on the lookout for the next test, be on the lookout for when the next exam is coming up, or send an email or send a message to the recruiting department. I'm sure they would love to have a conversation with you. All right. Well, folks, that's about it. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your continued support of the 30. Look for us next week, next Thursday, 7:30 to 9 a.m. is our Leaders and Entrepreneurs Connect. That registration link is in our description of this episode. So that is an in-person activity. We love to have you there. It is free. Just come, show up, but you'll need to register first so that we know how many people are coming. And that will be at Eden Coffee Company, 200 East Avenue, right downtown Rochester. That's it. Thank you. We look forward to having you on the next episode of the 30. May God bless you and your family. Peace out.